Yajiro's arc ends when he's finally reconnected with his mother. The shame is palpable as he lowers his head and doesn't even speak up first. But what I love about this scene is how it's abbreviated. Yajiro can't ask forgiveness for what happened to Soichiro when he was the reason for his father getting killed and over such a selfish feeling colored by social taboo. Instead, he apologizes for not keeping in touch and then can't keep his composure. It's so clear that Tosen understands what he wants to say and doesn't try to pull it out of him for her own sake. It's this unconditional love that amazes Yajiro after such a long time in solitude. He leaves it at that, accepting that she doesn't need to relive the story, and that he has to take even more time to synthesize that forgiveness. While most wouldn't consider him no longer a frog at heart, that night he spent as the false Azon Electric Railway still weighs down on his ability to shapeshift back to his true form. Having already collapsed during performances and suffering damage to his voice, Yakumo sneaks away to the theater to perform in complete privacy. It becomes clear what he's there to do when he introduces himself to the audience and lights the candles. He performs Shinigami again, but the camera work and visual tone are completely diegetic now that he's alone. We're inside Yakumo's head and see what's making him burn down the theater in the most personal way possible. Before we knew he was being secretly recorded, the threat of Yakumo killing the art of Rakugo with his own death was really convincing, but we see the cracks in that facade when Sukeroku eggs him on to actually do it. In the end, Yotaro pulls Yakumo from his most vulnerable point, as he admits he doesn't want to die this way. And even after getting so close to his conviction to end it all, he's unable to cut off his connections and will to live. That desperation makes Rakugo Shinjuu unforgettable. Yakushimaru commits suicide before his parents' bodies in burning home. His blood gets a while to sink into the snow before Inari shows up with other plans. He and Koto bring him back to life and adopt him, and his reaction to this is handled exceptionally. His initial rebirth is staged in a very reverent way, but it's coupled with hints of unfamiliarity and force. After he wakes up, he reacts horribly, as though he's lost his freedom in exchange for life. We have to see him try to kill himself again, only for him to wake up, forever detached from his previous life. Even as he begins to warm up to his new family, there's a slight disdain for Inari leading up to their separation. It's clear that Yakushimaru is thankful for getting to live any life at all, but the notion that he isn't living completely on his own terms never truly leaves. It's why he wants to be able to die one day, and why the ending for him is so special. The final episode of Abenobashi opens on a film reel, magically improvised by Sashi's thoughts, and soon what Arumi tries to explain to him. She doesn't want to stay in her hometown forever because she has so much more to achieve. She wants to travel the world and go to space. The real space, not that nonsense. Sashi wants to know why she would want to leave Abenobashi if it's the perfect town with the perfect people. But what he doesn't get is that she's going to take what she's learned from Abenobashi and let other people feel that warmth. And when she eventually does look back on the planet from the surface of the moon, long after the shopping arcade has been torn down, she'll be able to reflect on the good she was able to spread. That's what it means when she says, "The Abenobashi shopping arcade will live on in my heart." Naota challenges Haruko's proposition to run away with her, asking her why she's being so nice, but her response is so expected at this point that he can't bear to hear it anymore. He knows he can't have what he really wants from her, but is willing to take what he can get. Meanwhile, Haruko is realizing just how deeply she's influenced Naota, and knows this poses a problem not only for the Space Patrol, but her own goal of meeting Atomsk. The longer she lets this go, the harder Naota will fall when she finally reaches her goal, let alone the professional backlash she'll get for interfering on Earth. Throughout the series, she's always had a quip or a sly one-liner when met with a problem, but when challenged to be honest with herself, she's completely silent. On her quest for ultimate power, as many would say, that idealized adulthood, she's stepping on people along the way, and she's seeing the effect it has, wrapping itself around her torso. But she doesn't know how to make it right and still get what she wants. That's why they both speed off the next morning. This scene is the reason Diebuster is an exemplary sequel. At the end of Gunbuster, we know that Noriko and Kazumi return to Earth after 12,000 years of time-dilated space travel. So when it's revealed that Lauk's story ends with getting to meet them, all of that catharsis hits you again. This time, though, you realize you've just spent the entire series learning about the world they come back to. Imagine their faces when they realize they're not only still remembered by name, but that their bravery has inspired countless others across time, including someone who's made a sacrifice even greater than theirs. By the time Satsuki meets with her in the Kiryuin family grand bath, we already know that Rakugo is the big bad enemy, but what we don't know yet is that she's everyone's enemy. Satsuki is having problems maintaining her connection to Junketsu, and Rakugo knows what to do to help, but what that entails is sickening to watch. It's this moment that tests viewers who lauded Satsuki's speech in episode 3 by putting her on display at her most vulnerable moment. Now that you're getting what this show's been teasing you with, can you still handle it when she's being taken advantage of in this way? When you're 16 episodes in, it's hard to appreciate Satsuki's appearance when she isn't in power, because you watch her fall from grace and feel the same defeat she does. Instead, you're tortured with the idea that this goes on all the time, and have little else to think about aside from Satsuki's resolve to end it, so that when she does, it's something you've been waiting for. Desperately. Lelio communicates with Shinji under the guise of his younger self, and challenges his motivations that brought him to this point. Not only is it cool to see this unfathomable being try to study a human and what's behind its AT field, but the questions it raises to Shinji characterize them both. While it is true that it's bad for Shinji to continue moving forward without any real self-fulfillment, it's only being brought up in an alien's attempt at psychological warfare. As mind-boggling as that may be, it doesn't exist in a vacuum, and Lelio pays for it dearly. While Shinji is in no place to defend himself from the engulfing darkness, Yui appears to him, before letting Unit 01 go berserk. The battle between Simone and Lord Genome isn't just a microcosm of the conflict between Spiral Warriors and the Anti-Spiral. It's the same for the conflict of ideals between the show itself and that of Neon Genesis Evangelion. Not only is Lagann a spitting image of Unit 01, but Lord Genome's oppression over the human race reflects the doom they're met with in the end of Evangelion. For Lord Genome, the humans' only hope is to remain quiet and sparse, furthering their existence bit by bit and accepting the unchangeable limits to life. The fact that he dies here, with over 10 episodes left, is a total rejection of that idea. And Simone, a child representing a resistance group of all ages, is the one to kill him. It hammers home that how Earth operates will change, no matter how hard the pushback is.